Oh, hello. Many Magic the Gathering players ask the question, is the Pokémon TCG really a game first, or is it perhaps a collectible first and a game second? What is the role that reprints in Pokémon cards play for both the economy and the competitive environment? Do you think that older Pokémon drive the prices of cards? Is nostalgia equity a thing in Pokémon? All those questions and more will be asked of the one, the only, my super special guest here today, Leonhart. Leonhart, thank you so much for joining me.
Absolutely. It is a long time coming, but I'm ecstatic and so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
I'm just so thrilled that we finally got to do this. And there's one final question that both Pokemon and Magic the Gathering players might ask, which is, what is in this pack of Pokemon cards, this base set 2 pack that Leonhart has sent me to open here later in the show for a very good charity that we're going to be talking about? Will we pull something pricey or just something nostalgic? We're going to find out. But first, Leonhart, I just want to ask you, in Pokemon, and I really wonder this, I talk about this all the time, I do play casually, but do you think it's fair to say Pokemon is a collectible first and a game second, or do you think that's unfair of me to say?
Well, that's a great question. If you ask the lamest person, it's definitely more of a collectible card game. And if you look at the data, it's definitely more of a collectible card game. Of course, the Pokemon Company wants you to be playing the game and collecting too, but they really want you to play the competitive game. And I think I can speak for a lot of people as when you first encounter the Pokemon card game, you are playing it and you are playing it for fun and hopefully enjoying it. And that's what I did when the game first came out in the late 90s. But as of right now, it's an overwhelmingly majority collectible card game first. Whether you want to do it for nostalgic reasons or just collecting your favorite Pokemon or types of Pokemon or for value reasons. There's so many different types of reasons, especially with Pokemon being such a big media property as it is.
Yeah. And how much do tournaments and the competitive nature of cards influence prices? Because, of course, and I don't know what the current state of the Pokemon circuit is like due to the global pandemic we've all been struggling through. Magic certainly had to pause live events, and we're just slowly getting back to them. But back when, in the pre-pandemic times, things were operating normally, I know that, obviously, cards that are seeing tournament play are going to be desirable, are going to have value.
Right.
But also, how much is just, they reprinted this cool nostalgic card or the new popular Pokemon from the new set, and is that enough to make a Pokemon card a sought-after collectible that has a high value? Just, it's a nostalgic card or Pokemon?
I'll tell you what, I miss live events. There's nothing like a live event and playing in person. And thankfully this year they are back. And when they are back, yes, a big old woo, because I'm excited too. So when the events are back, it's kind of like a different world when you compare modern cards compared to the older sets, like the vintage sets. And specifically, as you said, modern cards, what drive the value and want for those specific ones are the playability of those cards and the legality of those cards in the different tournaments, whatever type of tournaments that you do. So when a new set comes out, obviously, we'll go ahead and say there's a biasness for Charizard. So whenever there's a Charizard in a set, it doesn't need to be playable. It's Charizard. People are going to want that card no matter what. So that's kind of like an anomaly, an outlier. Otherwise, what drives modern card values and wants is the type of like how playable it is in the different type of tournaments. So how long, longevity of a card and how valuable it is, it really just depends on, how playable it is when you can actually use the card in a tournament. Other times it'll be the actual illustration in the more collectible variety of a card where specifically there's a card, Latios and Latios team up GX card where they're both on the card. That card, the value for it is really, really high and it's a ultra rare card. It's absolutely beautiful, but it's just a more rare card to have in really, really good condition, which is a whole separate thing. So for modern cards, it's all about the playability wise and use in tournaments. vintage cards, it's a whole nother ballgame.
How often does Charizard and those original Pokemon cards get reprinted? Do they have a rule about it where they're not going to do it too often for fear of maybe running out of nostalgia, where it's just there's so many Charizard cards they no longer have the same oomph? Or is there just willy-nilly we're gonna do it super often? How often do we see reprints of those?
Well, first off, I'll say there's no such thing as too much nostalgia when it comes to Pokemon, so especially when it comes to Charizard. However, to answer your question, we can look at the most recent, or one of the more recent sets for Pokemon, and that is the Pokemon Celebrations set, the 25th anniversary set. Now, that's not the first time they reprinted the original base set Charizard. They've actually reprinted it for the 20th anniversary for Pokemon Evolutions set, which came out in Japanese and English. And they actually even reprinted that same Charizard in, I believe, the set Platinum Supreme Victors, which was, at some point in the 2010s, I believe, which that didn't get as much fanfare. So they have reprinted the cards, the original cards, several times, including the Pikachu base set ones as well, too. They do it sporadically, like I just mentioned, were the only times that they have reprinted those cards. But when they do, there's always fanfare for people wanting to collect those cards again. And we most recently saw that with wanting to pull the base set Charizard, but Celebrations 25th Anniversary Edition. So are they going to release them again in the future? They may, they may, but for right now, I wouldn't see another type of reprint for another few years.
Sure, but they don't have to also just reprint those old cards. They can simply make new cards that feature Charizard. And are those cards equally popular if they're making a new Charizard card with obviously new cool artwork or cool treatment and new abilities as part of the new set? How often does that happen?
Well, if we even look to the past couple years, Pokemon decided they wanted to print a Charizard for basically every set that came out, with a set.
Every set.
With Champion's Path, I believe, came out maybe a year or two ago. It had 2 Charizards in it. So they were really gung-ho for, and I talk about like the Pokemon Company was really gung-ho for going after Charizard in the interest. And while some people would say they're, were a little burnout from Charizard and the different variations, they still went after it. They still went after wanting to pull a Charizard, which is why in all of those were different renditions of a type of Charizard, not a reprint like a base set one. So there was always people interested in going after Charizard. The next set coming out, I do believe, has a Charizard in it, surprise. But the previous one did not. Do they at least
give you Bulbas? Do they at least give you Venusaur and Blastoise in them as well, or are they completely overshadowed by Charizard?
It's always usually Charizard for sure, and it's a crapshoot between you may get a Venusaur, you may get a Blastoise. It wasn't until Celebrations that Blastoise was reprinted, at least from a base set standard. Sometimes they'll try to throw both in with different new prints, modern-wise, but it's always the Charizard, no matter if it's playable or not, you're going to want to collect it, especially with the new type of Charizard coming out in Brilliant Stars, which is coming out in February, early February.
Besides Charizard, what are some things that do make particular Pokemon cards in new sets collectible, besides also tournament play? So it's like, okay, this is great in paper gaming in the tournament, or it's Charizard, but besides those two factors, is there anything else that makes a card a must-have or definitely desired?
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, I love that mug.
Yes, merchandising. There we go.
There's 2 different things. First off, it would be if the type of card, like the type of Pokemon that it is, and how, like, what's the pull rate of out of how many certain amount of packs is that card more difficult to pull than another? While we don't have exact numbers, stores will usually, to try to sell singles, they'll open up like 4,000 packs to kind of test out, all right, which one's more difficult than the other to pull? So there's a matter of, is that one just more difficult to pull, or what's the condition of the card if you want to, either have a mint condition of it or get it graded? Because some cards are easier to grade than others. And by grading, I'm talking about like PSA, Beckett, all those grading companies and stuff.
Yeah.
So those are the two main things: is rare ability, like how hard is it to pull the card, and condition of the card. And then last but not least is just how well do you love that illustration from the certain illustrator or card. Which, if you know me, I love the Squirtle Team Rocket card is my favorite card of all time in Pokemon, and it's a common card. So, everybody has their loves of their different type of illustrations, which adds to the draw of wanting to pull a certain card.
And is there a big market, too, for those? I don't know if Pokemon cards are done, if the illustrations are just done digitally and the artists maybe sell prints, or maybe they're not allowed to because of copyright. In Magic, a lot of pieces are done traditionally, and they'll sell the original paintings or illustrations, and there's a huge market for that with prices through the roof. Is that the case in Pokemon as well?
So from my understanding, illustrator for Pokemon is an independent contractor. They're not actually like an employee. So, however, that being said, their work that they do, their illustrations are owned by the Pokemon company. So they are not allowed to sell the original print of their copy. They can do, autographs and stuff and all that whatnot, but they can't sell the original copy of the print. They probably own it themselves, but, legally they're not allowed to.
Wow, not even the original, if it's just a traditional object, they're not allowed to just say, here is that object?
Well, it depends. Like, they can sketch out really fast. Sometimes I've seen them sketch out like what looks like a Charizard, base set Charizard on a card, like the original illustrator, specifically Mitsuhiro Arita. He's the one that drew original base set Charizard in the original energies even for Pokemon. And he'll draw those out, but when it comes to like the official sketches, no, those are probably locked away. And I'll tell you what, if those are ever put on the market, I can only imagine how much they would go for, just like, in Magic.
Oh, yeah. That's one of the things in Magic is that Wizards of the Coast makes up for the fact that, it's my understanding, I don't have exact numbers, but my understanding is they don't have really high competitive rates for the actual commissions of the Magic art, but they make up for it by letting the artist have ownership rights to put it on playmats, sell prints, and if they are not a digital artist, is it's about 50-50, half are digital only, and then half literally some people oil paintings and watercolor and all kinds of mediums. They can sell that and they go for tens of thousands, sometimes even if it's later on, far above that, $40,000, $50,000. And that's the way Wizards makes it up to the artists. And it's a kind of mutually agreed upon deal where it's like, okay, you're not really maybe giving us the highest dollar for, us making the art, but then we're going to make our money in selling playmats and prints and maybe even the original piece. And they're usually very happy about it from all my conversations.
Yeah, if they're both happy, that's what makes it work. And obviously with Wizards, used to be owned by the Pokemon company and everything, or used to have a contract, with them. It's a different type of just culture, going from one company to the other, and what works at the other, is just different. So I myself find that such a very interesting combination. But, to the power of the original illustrator of the Magic, artwork to, do what you want with, I think that's really creative in a way that you can, do what you want with and sell it in any way and shape and form, because the illustrations that I've seen for Magic are phenomenal.
Yeah, definitely. I think some of the most talented artists out there in the fantasy genre do Magic cards. But I love just, I'm a real obsessive over kind of the flavor of Pokemon. I play the Pokemon video games with my young son, and he also plays the trading card game on the online client, which he really likes. And so if he gets a pack of cards, he gets that digital code to put in there. And I feel there's a lot worse things he could be doing with his time than using creativity, math skills, strategic planning. Yeah. That can apply to Magic as well, though at least Pokemon's a little bit more young child friendly with what's going on there. Is there anything in the schools? Magic has often battled in the schools, less so today, more so in the past. But do you know, is there anything in the schools where there's objections to, say, maybe elementary school or even junior junior high school students playing Pokemon cards, collecting, trading Pokemon cards? Are they against it? Magic was often said it's like evil or even demonic, perhaps. And I can't imagine they'd say that about Pokemon, but maybe they just don't like the idea of kids playing with them. I think it's a great use of their time, personally. I
agree. And it's funny because they also called that, Pokemon is evil too, specifically like when...
Really?
Well, like not just now, because they still are. However, I will say this because it's funny. I had this exact same conversation with some friends the other day is, Pokemon cards banned in school? Because when I was growing up, cards ended up being banned in school. And I really think that had a hamper on the popularity for Pokemon after they got banned. And it was not just in the US, it was like across the world they got banned. And so now we have the power because a lot of the teachers are now us in our age. And I can't tell you how many of the teachers are using Pokemon cards now as rewards if their kids behave well or do well in school. So while some schools I have heard of them being banned, most of them are more than willing to at least use Pokemon cards as a sort of like reward. I'm not sure about playing it in school. However, I have heard, my wife's a teacher and she says they're playing it all the time. So.
Oh, sure. I can imagine far worse things for kids of any age, K through 12, to be spending their time doing than getting in a game of Pokemon either during free period or recess or what have you. There's so much worse out there that them sitting down and saying, okay, so now that's 10 damage plus this effect. And it's like, all right, that's using your brain.
It helps with math. Yeah, exactly what you were saying earlier.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do think you make a really good point that a lot of these teachers today were Pokemon players yesterday when they were kids. And that also has always been my belief, and this is true for Magic and probably all the other card games out there like Yu-Gi-Oh, etc., and on and on. Digimon is starting to get popular now. And I think that what's happening is that when we were kids, it was thought of as a kid's thing. Pokemon is for kids. Magic the Gathering's for kids. Right. Now adults are like, oh boy, the new Pokemon set came out. I want to go get those nostalgic cards, or I want to see the new ones. Or like I said, I sit down and play Pokemon with my son, both the card game and the video games. Yeah. And I think that fuels so much of we're hearing about the collectible craze and we're hearing about, wow, business, Wizards of the Coast business is through the roof. I can imagine Pokemon is still incredibly lucrative. And I think that's because adults and children, that's one factor of many, can now just sit down at the table, go into the game store, and that's awesome. It's not just for kids. It's for everyone.
Right. It's a great way for families to bond. I can't tell you how many times I've had, a parent and child reach out to me and saying like, thank you so much for your content, for all of the TCG content that the creators put out, because sometimes they've even had a hard time bonding with their kid, but they're like, over Pokemon, your videos, other creators' videos, we've really had an amazing time bonding together like none other. And it's not just happened once. I can't even tell you how many times. So the parent-child dynamic is stronger than ever with all the TCGs, which is fantastic to see. It really is.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Last year, we saw a Pokemon hit the news with some less awesome stuff where there was a lot of Walmarts and Targets that stopped selling it because customers were getting out of control, buying it up off the shelves. I haven't been hearing about that as much now. Has that mostly died down? Was that like a blip in the rather unfortunate year of hell that we had last year? Or is that just something they're not, that it's not coming up on my radar? Like, has that calmed down again? Or
so it's absolutely calmed down. And while that can be a whole nother podcast of going in like, what happened last year? Obviously with the hype, warehouses had to be shut down. So the supply from Pokemon was way down. It was just, simple supply and demand for economics, as far as like, there's just not enough out there. So that also happened not just to Pokemon too. It happened to Yu-Gi-Oh! Not as much, but it especially happened to sports cards. And so what I was honestly kind of pissed about, and I purposely, while I'm not the most excited about like the news and stuff, I purposely was wanting to get interviewed by the news when they would reach out. They were trying to sensationalize all these fights and stuff that happened, but the fights weren't about Pokemon. They were about sports cards, specifically what happened in, I think it was like New Jersey or Florida or something, where there was like a gun that brought out, which was the ultimate deciding factor in why they started banning sports cards and Pokemon cards and Yu-Gi-Oh cards for that short amount of time at the end of last year, I believe. And so thankfully, there was a new warehouse that Pokemon purchased, and supply is better than ever as far as trying to get it out there. It's not all the way back yet, but if you go into a store now, you are going to see some packs as opposed to last year where it was impossible because all the, scalpers and everything were going for the shelves and everything.
Yeah, that has happened. Magic has had that problem where if they don't want to print too much of certain product because you don't want to end up with unsold product. You made more than there was demand for.
Yeah.
But then they have these terrible things happen. So we had, for instance, a nostalgia product this year that they didn't print enough of, and it was off the shelves overnight. And so scalpers that are gonna, or just people who have it. Maybe you just got a box and you're like, people are paying $300 and I paid $100. Sure, I'll let it go for $300, and that's now the price.
Yeah.
And so Wizards is always having this balance of it. I saw the Pokemon Company put out a statement saying we're aware people are having trouble getting some of our products. We are this matters to us. We are going to try and work to resolve that. So it's good to hear that it sounds like that has largely been resolved now, and hopefully, that's terrible if the media was turning a story about a gun being pulled over sports cards and trying to make it sound, because I thought that was over Pokemon cards. That was how I heard it.
Yeah, that's what they went with in the titles to get people to click on the articles and to watch the stuff, was saying they said it in a way where it was like a gun was brought out, but so they banned Pokemon cards, but they didn't specifically say that the gun was brought out because of Pokemon card fighting. It was about sports and stuff. And so, that just got me upset. And, because I try to do all I can as a creator to always tell people to leave stuff on the shelves, to try to not open a ton of crazy amounts of product. Like, I try to do all I can as an ambassador for Pokemon. And it just got, as got crazy last year. And I am thankful to see that now people can walk into stores and find something on the shelves, actually, because that's what it's about.
Yeah.
You can't beat that feeling.
Absolutely. Do you think, so I have a thing that also happens in Magic. This is much more towards individual card prices. And since I think Magic is a game where I think it is the game first, and a Magic card is highly unlikely to have, at least from new sets, to have a high price if it's not being played somewhere in some capacity. And I often get some criticism that if I do a video where I talk about, hey, these are these secret sleepers or powerful cards that don't have a high price tag, and then people say, great, now you went and put a spotlight on it, and those cards went from 10 cents to $10. Thanks a lot. And I don't know. It happens. We're all a part of the same ecosystem.
Yeah.
I'm often hesitant to think that it's as simple as that. What do you think of the role of the creator in Pokemon? Is there a kind of effect where I actually would argue that at least the role of the creator in Magic is that we do get people interested in the game. We are getting people into the stores. Yes, that is making people buy product, and that can lead to products, like in the case of the set that they underprinted. But I'm just curious what you think the role of the creator is in Pokemon, and if you've heard criticism about maybe Pokemon creators are fueling hype, and that's making it sell off the shelves. And I'm curious your thoughts on that.
No, that's a fantastic question. I think like a simple analogy before I say more is kind of like, as long as you're saying the right information and the right facts, you're not necessarily faking anything. There's absolutely nothing wrong, because you're simply a passionate person about a game that you enjoy. So an analogy would just be okay, tickets to LA Lakers game or something with LeBron James. He's causing these tickets to be so expensive because he's hyped up, because he's that good of a player. A person gets a PS5, and they deal with those PS5s right now. They're playing a game, like myself, opening up cards and getting excited about opening up the cards and the cards you pull. Well, they're getting excited about a game they're playing or something like that via a Let's Play or a review or whatever, and it's making more people want to go out and buy a PS5. More people want to go out and go to a Lakers game. So what's the problem with, as long as you're not doing anything malicious, what's the problem with a person just simply opening up cards and having fun opening up the cards and getting people hyped up about a card? I don't think there's anything wrong with that, as long as there's no malicious behavior or, fake prices or any type of thing like that. And I'm not saying everybody is perfect in this world, but at the same time, that's kind of my initial impression is, as long as there's no malicious behavior and you're just enjoying stuff, it's like, why are you mad at somebody for enjoying something? And hype is hype when it comes to something like, it's exciting. It's exciting for a reason, because it's fun. Yeah. Whether you like it for nostalgia, playability reasons, or collecting. That's my kind of thoughts in a nutshell.
Yeah, and I think that, if anything, again, like the idea of blame is a very strong word, but I tend to say, well, that's in some ways up to the company and the manufacturer to make sure that there is enough supply for demand.
Yeah, and I didn't even get on that. Yeah, that was the whole thing with the supply and demand.
Of course, COVID and 2020 and, certain supply ships going into certain, canals, and we just had shipping chaos that we're still seeing the effects of, especially in the gaming industry, not just trading cards. But goodness, talk to your board gaming friends about the difficulties they're having. Everything's in chaos. But ultimately, somebody going and saying, this is exciting, I'm having fun, and 100,000 people watch and they go, I want to have fun too. That looks like fun. I used to do that as a kid maybe, or I want to do that now as a kid.
Yeah.
It's a case of let's make sure there's enough product. That's what I'm always on about, is like, let's make sure there's access.
Yes.
And no one's trying to cut off access.
Completely agree. And that's what I didn't just mention, like I mentioned earlier, but just for now, part of like what I was just saying is, have fun, hype, blah, blah, blah. But when it comes to the basic economics of supply and demand of what you just said, it was the perfect storm, especially last year, of what happened when there was that amount of hype, because people couldn't go to the trips, clubs, they couldn't even go out. They were stuck in their house, go to their parents' house. They found their old Pokemon card collections. That went crazy. They wanted to keep on, collecting the cards, and they got hooked onto the new sets as well. Yeah, there was people wanting to scalp and stuff, and you can say the same thing for sneakers, for the PS5, like all that, which is, I don't like that. You see that with everything. Sports tickets, there's the sites out there that you specifically use those to scalp. That's just part of when things get big, that happens. Do I like that? Not necessarily, but that's just part of, a capitalistic market, So that being said, it was all supply and demand, and the hype just came at the perfect storm at that time. And like I said, Pokemon literally had to shut down their warehouses, so they couldn't keep up with that supply. If there was enough supply, none of whatever the drama and everything that would have happened. It's really as simple as that. And that's why I was wanting to get interviewed, to try to make sure to let people know, here are the reasons why, supply and demand. And yeah, I know there was a lot of animosity towards creators and stuff, and even specifically myself at times too. And it was very, very tough, but that's why I was trying to at least put out what I at least thought was the truth when it came to why everything was as it was. Yeah, definitely. I think that one of the reasons why we saw there's so many factors, but I think a strong reason why we saw such a growth, a boom in physical cards like Pokemon and Magic saw its biggest year ever in 2020, and they were very surprised. My understanding, not to speak on behalf of the company, which I wouldn't do, warning, I'm just talking about what I heard, but the understanding was most people thought, 2020, we're in lockdown, that's going to be a big hit to trading cards, to board games, and those things went through the roof because people look towards card games and board games as a personal connection. Yeah. People found ways to play over webcam. People found ways to just play with their families in their quarantine and distancing. And it turned into, for many people who maybe were alone during it, that just opening up a pack of cards was a way to feel that connection to the people that they could not be with right now, and people that are far away and that they're shut off from. And I think that's a beautiful thing that these physical products bring to people. And there certainly was a craze, but I don't think that creators
that as long as they're being honest, like you said, and such, nobody's looking. Your end goal isn't to make shelves sell out any more than my end goal is to make a card worth $10. I don't want the card worth $10. I want everybody to have, I want Wizards to reprint that card so it goes back to 10 cents.
Yeah.
But I want to say, this is a fun, awesome card. Put it in your deck. It's super fun to play with.
Exactly.
I love it. I want to share that with people so that maybe we can get through this tough time a little bit more easily.
Right. Exactly. It doesn't benefit anyone to not let people be able to go out and get cards and to be able to play, collect.
Right.
It really doesn't. So completely agree, especially the physical aspect of it too.
Yeah, absolutely. I have one last question before we get to speaking of the physical aspect and opening up this pack, which I'm really excited. But I guess my last question is to you. What is your relationship like with the actual Pokemon company? How much do you talk to them? How do they treat other creators as well? What are they like in that regard?
I'll do a Spark Notes version of kind of like my relationship with them throughout the years, because Pokemon is a very conservative company. Like they are not, bureaucratic, conservative, big company. I mean, I would be the highest highest grossing media franchise in the world. So they've had a successful formula, so they don't change their ways too often or too fast. However, that being said, they have Pokemon Company International in Japan and then Pokemon Company in Washington. And they never had a relationship with creators up until I actually reached out on LinkedIn to their marketing team several years ago, and they actually responded, and they were like, yeah, we love your videos, we watch your videos. And I told them like, hey, can we have a chat? And they're like, yeah, why don't we let's go on a call with the entire marketing team and let's have a chat. I was like, is this real? So we actually had a call. The whole time I was still like, they're not going to listen to anything I'm saying, which was not like a lot. It was just like, I'd love to have a better relationship with the influencers and creators out there, not just myself. There's plenty of other ones out there. And I think it would very well be mutually beneficial, especially for the company, to do some awesome stuff together. And from there, they said, sure thing. It was a slow process, but there was several things that specifically I pitched to them, like doing sneak peeks for certain sets of cards that are coming out. They finally started sending not just myself, but other creators as well, free product, not like a lot, but it would be enough to do like one video or something like that, which is very cool. And then to where now the amount of product that they sent out to a lot of people is tons of creators, not even just Pokemon creators. I guess they're trying to expand it even more, their audience. But now it's kind of just like I'll update them on certain things, but there's not like too much, back and forth too often. They did last year hire finally their actual influencer, like liaison person. They never had one before. It was like direct to the marketing team that I would usually be talking to. And they're always busy with stuff. So they finally, first time ever, have an influencer person, and he's still there. And that's kind of like currently where it is right now is, I'll pitch him on current stuff that I'm doing or whatever, but especially with last year with all the events being canceled, they didn't really have too much going on from a, in-person perspective. But with 2022 coming up, I think that'll change.
Wow. I'm really bowled away by the fact that they only so recently have had an influencer manager, and even more bowled away that it sounds like a huge factor in what is now their relationship with multiple creators. That's wild. That's got to make you feel good, building that bridge.
It does. It does make me feel good. It's really cool, especially with the fact that it's just weird because I had to reach out on LinkedIn out of all places, and I had guessed their last name. I love it. I know their email was at Pokemon.com or something. So it was their first letter, I don't know, something like that. And that's literally how I did it. But they were very receptive, which is so interesting because it's just it makes you think of the power dynamic between Pokemon Company, because that's who I would talk to. Pokemon Company in USA, where they're not called that anymore, just Pokemon Company, but the North America one, versus Pokemon Company International in Japan, because that whole dynamic between the two is a whole nother story. But it really is crazy. But to think that just in 2018 or 19 was when finally they started really actually working with influencers because I reached out.
I'm glad they did. Yes, I'm glad they did. I really believe that while there can definitely be various conflicts between influencers and the companies that they might do content on, that we really are a huge driving force for their product and
absolutely.
do play an
We've
important
made
role.
them millions.
And it's,
we've made them literally millions of dollars.
I was trying to be humble about it, Leonhart. I was trying to be humble about it, but you're absolutely right. We're making them millions. They can send us a pack.
There's no like payment or anything like that. I haven't asked for payment or anything because I don't need that. But what I'm saying is, I just want there to be, and this could be for all the TCGs. I don't know how, is it Konami for Yu-Gi-Oh? And of course Wizards for Magic. I don't know the dynamic between influencers and stuff there, but all I ask is that, there be a healthy, very open, communicative relationship between the TCG company and whoever influencers they want to work with. Because honestly, from all the games, I will be straight up, like, we've made them, not just myself, all the creators in Pokemon and Magic and Yu-Gi-Oh! Have made those respective companies constantly bringing in new customers and keeping the old ones too.
I couldn't agree more, and I'm actually really impressed at how upfront you are about that. I was keeping it back a little bit, but you're absolutely right.
Well, I can say because I spoke to Pokemon about it. I told Pokemon that. I was just like, let's keep the communication open and everything like that. And honestly, we do a lot for y'all. I mean, I'm a family-friendly kind of YouTuber just because that's just how I am in real life anyway. I'm just a big dork like that. But, they be conservative with who they work with and stuff. But, that's just kind of how it is. And I know the relationship continues to be building up, and that's what you like to see.
Awesome. So, I think it's time.
Yes, is it time?
Open up this wonderful pack. Before I do, one last thing I'm going to make people wait through, but it is important. Can you tell people a little bit about the charity that we would like to encourage them to check out and donate to, and why it is important to you and to all of us as well?
Absolutely.
And then we can crack into this.
I'm excited about you opening up this pack, but we're doing it for a reason. That's for raising funds and awareness for a big cause, not just for myself, but for millions and millions, mental health, and specifically raising funds and awareness for the National Alliance on Mental Illness, a highly rated organization that I've personally helped raise funds and awareness for years because it's near and dear to my heart. And what's great is we do know the funds actually go to helping countless amounts of people that have actually reached out to me telling me, like, thank you for your videos of telling me about NAMI. I've reached out to them and now I'm in a much better place. So when you know that the work actually, like the money in NAMI is a great organization, it makes it all that better. So that's what we're doing today is yourself opening up an original base set 2-pack, which does have a chance of pulling a Charizard. The one and only Charizard.
And so is that the big money card in here? If we get a Charizard, is that the biggest money card that could potentially be in here?
I will say, if you can go as however way you want to celebrate, if you pull a Charizard, especially you can still pull a Blastoise and a Venusaur. So let's get excited about that, especially a Blastoise. But a Charizard would be the absolute creme de la creme of cards in that set.
Can I pull a Muck from this set? Is there a Muck in this set? Muck is my favorite Pokemon.
That's a very interesting choice, but to each his own. And I will say, I'm not exactly sure off the top, like base set 2 is a combination of some of the original, not just base set, but some of the other sets like Jungle. So I think Muck was in Team Rocket though. So
right.
We'll see. Maybe we'll surprise you here, okay?
Muck are not evil. They are not evil. They clean the polluted lakes that they dwell in, and people have a very wrong perception
I can agree with that.
Them.
I can agree with that. So let's see you pull one then. Okay?
All right. So here we go. We're going to open this beautiful thing up. For those of you in Magic the Gathering watching, this is, I think, I was speaking to a few of my staff who are more into Pokemon. This is kind of the equivalent of a revised set because this is the reprints from the first 2 sets, correct? And then also Jungle and one other, right?
That's some Fossil.
Some fossil, yes. So, okay. And the way the card order in these, was this the same card order that new packs have? Or
so base set 2 sometimes is a little finicky. So honestly, I would just go ahead and just do it one card at a time as you have it. And
let's see.
You will be good to go. So take it away, my friend.
All right. So here's our trainer card. We got a Dugong. One of the greatest things is someone said, every Pokemon is somebody's favorite.
That is
just like me and Muck.
That is so
true. Just like me and my Muck. Diglett. Someone loves Diglett out there.
I'm getting a little nervous here. I want to see you pull something.
Yeah. All right. We got a trainer card. Gust of Wind. Doduo. Rattata. That is another. I'm a big fan of Rattata and Raticate because it doesn't get any love, and I have pet rats. Onyx is another favorite of mine. I love Onyx. I loved the cartoon. Brock and his Onyx.
Oh, look at that.
And we've got, oh boy, here we are.
You got a holographic.
A shiny. Well, not shiny in the Pokemon sense. I just say shiny because it's shiny foil.
It's shiny cardboard. Hello. It's beautiful. A shiny Poliwrath. A holographic Poliwrath, man. Congratulations.
Look at that. Yeah. Gorgeous.
That's actually, I mean, one, you're more than likely not going to get a holo in a pack, and you just got one. So that's pretty good odds there. So congratulations. And Poliwrath is very special to me because that was one of the first holos I pulled. If I did well in school, I got base set packs, and I pulled a Poliwrath. So it's special to me that you pulled it. So congratulations.
That's awesome. Yeah. So what I'm going to do is I am going to encourage everybody right now to check out the link for Leonhart's fundraiser that is in this video's description, as well as the pinned comment. And there are some awesome prizes, I believe, that are going out. To please have everyone go check that out and support this great cause and maybe walk away with a little something. And because we're talking about everyone's favorite, I know this Poliwrath, or perhaps just the Onyx, or the Rattata is someone's favorite, I'm going to give this full pack.
Whoa.
I'll even put it right back in the wrapper, away to one lucky person. Just leave a comment on here. Talk about whatever you like, your favorite Pokemon, your favorite Leonhart pack opening video that you've watched. And if you haven't watched Leonhart's channel, you absolutely should check that out. That'll also be in this video's description. And I will pin one week from when this video goes live. And I'll contact you. And I'll ship this off to you anywhere in the world that I'm allowed to send to. Of course, if you're in Antarctica, I'm afraid we may have to renegotiate, but otherwise, that's going out. Leonhart, thank you so much for coming here today and joining me.
Absolutely. This has been a long time coming, and I just want to quickly say, continue to do what you do. You're an absolutely amazing creator and even better human being. So I think I can, hopefully say you're such a positive influence. And so thank you so much for having me today.
Thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely.